For this question, we need to ask the user for a username and password and store it in a text file. So that's our first thing that we need to do. So to do that, I need to ask the user for username. So username equals input, enter a username, and then password is equal to input, enter a password. Now I want to create a file, and to do that, we need to type in file, which is the file handler, and then we write the name of the text file that we're creating. So I'll call it account.txt, and I need to write to it, or in this case I want to append to it, because whenever I run my program I want to keep my data. So I want to keep all the usernames and passwords in that file. If I put right in here, every time I put a new username, then my old text file will be overwritten. So next I want to write to that file that I've just created. So I write file.write, and then I want to create the username and password in a structure where I can read from. So to do that, all I need to do is username. So writing username and then comma, and then I'm writing my password, and then I want to move to a new line because it's a text file and I just want to move a new line. So every time we create a new username, it will be written on a new line. Now I want to close my file. Okay, so this first thing will create username and password. So if I run my program, say so far and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, my program will finish. And then if I go to my folder here, go on account, we've just created a username and password. So now our first part of the program is completed. Next it says display username and password has been stored, which we can just do that here. So print username and password has been stored. It says then ask the user for the same username and password. If the user enters the correct details, display you have entered the correct details, else display incorrect details, and repeat. So because it says repeat, we need a while loop. So we've done this before, but before we created the file ourselves without the code. So I'm just going to copy and paste the code here from our previous program that I've created some time ago. So firstly, we're saying logged in equals false. So this is just a variable which stores false, and then we use in while loop to loop. So first thing is we're creating a file handler, and we're saying open account.txt, and we're reading from it. Remember, R stands for read. And then we're printing you are now in the login section, enter username and password to log in. Then we're asking the username for username and for password. And then we're creating a variable and we're storing username plus comma plus password plus new line. So similar structure to what we saved on top right here. And then we're using a for loop to loop through the file. So we're saying for line in logged in data, which is our file handler, which is reading from account.txt. And then we're saying if line is equal to details. So if one of the lines is equal to details, which is username plus comma plus password plus new line, then I want to set logged into true, which will break out of the loop, and then it will display password correct. Welcome to my program. Because remember, this is not indented because it's outside the loop. So it will only get to this if the loop breaks. So once the loop breaks, it goes here. And if the loop doesn't break, so if that doesn't get set to true, if line is equal to details is not true, so the username and password is not in the text file, then logged in stays. We're saying if logged in is equal to false, but that's already false on top because it didn't get changed to true, then it will display incorrect username /password. So if I run my program, So enter a username. So we just create in, say, Tom12345. Then it says username and password has been saved. You're now in the logged in section. Enter username and password. So one Tom12345. Password correct. So this is pretty much our program done, but I want to make it even better. So I'll just check here. Tom and 12345 has been created, so that's good. Now I want to create some procedures, and I want to get the user to choose. I don't want the user to create a username if they already have one. So the first thing that we do is define a procedure. So let's say create, and then I want to indent all this. So I just click on that, and then I click on format, and I click on indent region. This is easier than just pressing tab before each line. And then I do the same for the next one. So define a procedure, let's say log this time, and a colon. I missed the colon at the top as well. And then I want to indent all this. So format and indent, just to add them inside the procedure. So whenever I call create, it will run this program. Whenever I call my procedure log, it will run this part of the program. This will make it easier to test as well. So now I want to create an if statement to get the user to choose. So firstly, that's our main, so our two procedures. You need to make sure you write all that first before you move on to the next part. Okay, for the next part is we need to create an if statement. So first we're saying we want to loop through it. So choice is equal to, let's say logged in, or just logged is equal to false. And then we say while logged is equal to false, then we loop. So the first thing that I want to do is write ask the question. So choice is equal to input. Would you like to create, or do you have an account? Do you have an account? Yes or no. Now we use an if statement. So if the user does not have an account, so if choice is equal to no, then I want to run my create procedure. So I just call that procedure. So create, and this will run this part of the program. So we don't have to rewrite all this. Next, because the user have just created his account or their account, now I want to set choice to true. So choice is equal to true. Oh, or yes in this case. Okay, now I want to create my second if statement, which is if choice is equal to yes, then I want to run this part of the program. So I want to run all this. So I just call my log procedure. So log, and I want to set logged to true. Right, capital L, log to true. So this will break out of the loop. It will set log to true. So when we get back to while logged is equal to false, it will not happen because log will be true. So else, if all that is not true, so if the user put anything other than yes or no, then obviously I don't want to get them to run the program. So I'll just say print incorrect choice, enter yes or no. Okay, now I save my program, and that's my program done. So let's run it to see if we got any errors. Okay, that's our first error. We need 2 equal sign. And yes, now it's good. So do you have an account, yes or no? Let's just type A. This is incorrect choice, enter yes or no. Okay, let's type no. Enter username and password. Say John123. Username and password has been created. You are now in the logged in section. So enter username. Let's say John and 123. Then password correct. Welcome to my program. So that's our program working now. Make sure you have all that written down because this program is very important. Make sure you test it as well. Make sure your program created a text file. So in this case, I got all these 3 usernames all on separate lines.